I'm a purist in the highest sense.
Thinking back. I'm 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 thinking back. Turn the bass up a little bit so I can hear that. Now don't call it a comeback. I'm thinking back on that real rap. But try ask, can I kick it? It was all that. Before trapping and drilling, it was on the flow though. Southern player, listen to Q banging out a solo. MTV Raps, Dr. Dre, your Ned lover. Peter CL, Lace and Mecca, and the Soul Brother. True school meant the world to me. On that Greg N.I., Greg N.I.C.E. We vibe out all in our zone. Digging diggable on that blowout comb. Salt and pepper, the light, the brat to conscious daughters. And Red Man had me gone off of muddy waters. Reasonable doubt would take me so high. Like when AZ hit off that dough or die. Just another uptown Saturday night like him low. If you don't know, now you know. So big. I'm thinking back. 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 I'm thinking back.
If I was to take you back with me, would you be okay with going after me? Could you keep it going like a battery? I'm just playing, okay, I'ma stay in my lane. But I'm saying if it don't feel like the 90s, I don't want it. Took a vow and I'm keeping to my promise. I'm a purist in the highest sense. She want that old thing back, but in the present tense, I represent something that they ain't never seen. Microphone fiend, but in the form of a queen. I'm not your average, and I don't mean to sound like a savage. But if lyrics don't matter, then how the hell can I manage to mesmerize with just the thick of my thighs, green in my eyes? Just the sound of my voice became people's choice. Do you remember the times when we was killing shit every night? Catching vibes, couldn't afford to catch a flight. We had cruise upon cruise in this city, bumping our own shit while we cruising the city. I take pity if you missed the golden era here, when we was bringing that organic flavor to your ears. Yeah.
Thinking back. I'm thinking back. Real rap. Real rap. Real rap. Real rap. Real rap. I'm thinking back. 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 Mama say, mama sigh, mama makusai. They want to be starting something that starts right now. This country is divided, the have-nots are slided. That's why I gotta speak up to get the wrongs righted. My word is all I got, so that's all I give. I'm from the worst place for black folks to live. It's plenty racial shovels for a hole that's dug. Like if you don't go to UW, then you get no love. The homeless crying out, there's no space for us. My race don't come downtown, there's no place for us. It's limited options for a space like us. We all supposed to be equal, not the case for us. When quotas gotta get filled, there's a chase for us. Since it's dollar signs in every cage for us. The unfair advantage, it amazes us. It'll make you cheap the pain away, blaze with us.
Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo, can you tell me?
What is going on? Oh, tell me what is going on. What is going on? What is going on?
Yo, welcome to the Midwest. Factory's gone, I swear it's such a hot mess. You ain't tech savvy, then you just stress. To add to the fact that so many are oppressed. Shoot, it ain't no wonder why so many are depressed. You can't be progressive when there's no progress. Progression here is minimal at best. It's enough to keep you under like you under arrest. Seem like a come up for all is never addressed. Dear leader of this country, yo, I'm not impressed. Cause why it seem in blatant hate invest. That's why these bars now are my way to protest. Which way will it go? Yo, I don't know. Almost like nobody don't love no more. All the lies and deceit, yo, they got to go. Mr. Apprentice should be fired from this TV show.
Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo, can you tell me?
What is going on? Hey, tell me what is going on. What is going on? What is going on?
Now which way do we lean? Do the right thing, Radio Raheem. Either push for love or there's a push for hate. With so many open places that ain't open for debate. Those that got the bread claim it's never enough. But those without it are the folks that got it rough. Regard for one another is how we get done. Now chant and go back to where they came from. But the they is the us cause we all here. All the divide talk is based out of fear. Let's not pretend what message does it send. With some spouting off words that offend. The greedy type of games broken down to classes. Most mass shooters don't look like my masses. No time for us to discuss what special interest groups rarely interest us. Man.
Tell me what is going on. Tell me what is going on. What is going on? Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo,
What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Tell me what is going on. Hey, tell me. Oh, what is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Hey.
thinking back. I'm 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 thinking back. Turn the bass up a little bit so I can hear that. Now don't call it a comeback. I'm thinking back on that real rap. But try ask, can I kick it? It was all that. Before trapping and drilling, it was on the flow though. Southern player, listen to Q banging out a solo. MTV Raps, Dr. Dre, your Ned Lover. Peter CL, Lacey Mecca, and the Soul Brother. True school meant the world to me. On that Greg N.I., Greg N.I.C.E. We vibe out all in our zone. digging diggable on that blowout comb. Salt and pepper to light the brat to conscious daughters. And Red Man had me gone off of muddy waters. Reasonable doubt would take me so high. Like when AZ hit off that dough or die. Just another uptown Saturday night like him low. If you don't know, now you know. So big. I'm thinking back. 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 I'm thinking back.
If I was to take you back with me, would you be okay with going after me? Could you keep it going like a battery? I'm just playing, okay, I'ma stay in my lane. But I'm saying if it don't feel like the 90s, I don't want it. Took a vow and I'm keeping to my promise. I'm a purist in the highest sense. She want that old thing back, but in the present tense, I represent something that they ain't never seen. Microphone fiend, but in the form of a queen. I'm not your average, and I don't mean to sound like a savage. But if lyrics don't matter, then how the hell can I manage to mesmerize with just the thick of my thighs, green in my eyes? Just the sound of my voice became people's choice. Do you remember the times when we was killing shit every night? Catching vibes, couldn't afford to catch a flight. We had cruise upon cruise in this city, bumping our own shit while we cruising the city. I take pity if you missed the golden era here, when we was bringing that organic flavor to your ear. Yeah.
Mama say, mama sigh, mama makusai. They want to be starting something that starts right now. This country is divided, the have-nots are slided. That's why I gotta speak up to get the wrongs righted. My word is all I got, so that's all I give. I'm from the worst place for black folks to live. It's plenty racial shovels for a hole that's dug. Like if you don't go to UW, then you get no love. The homeless crying out, there's no space for us. My race don't come downtown, there's no place for us. It's limited options for a face like us. We all supposed to be equal, not the case for us. When quotas gotta get filled, there's a chase for us. Since it's dollar signs in every cage for us. The unfair advantage, it amazes us. It'll make you cheap the pain away, blaze with us.
Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo, can you tell me?
What is going on? Oh, tell me what is going on. What is going on? What is going on?
Hey yo, welcome to the Midwest. Factory's gone, I swear it's such a hot mess. You ain't tech savvy, then you just stress. To add to the fact that so many are oppressed. Shoot, it ain't no wonder why so many are depressed. You can't be progressive when there's no progress. Progression here is minimal at best. It's enough to keep you under like you under arrest. Seem like a come up for all is never addressed. Dear leader of this country, yo, I'm not impressed. Cause why it seem in blatant hate invest. That's why these bars now are my way to protest. Which way will it go, yo? I don't know. Almost like nobody don't love no more. All the lies and deceit, yo, they got to go. Mr. Apprentice should be fired from this TV show.
Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo, can you tell me?
What is going on?
which way do we lean? Do the right thing, Radio Raheem. Either push for love or there's a push for hate. With so many open places, it ain't open for debate. Those that got the bread claim it's never enough. But those without it are the folks that got it rough. Regard for one another is how we get done. Now chant and go back to where they came from. But the they is the us, cause we all here. All the divide talk is based out of fear. Let's not pretend what message does it send. With some spouting off words that offend. The greedy type of games broken down to classes. Most mass shooters don't look like my masters. No time for us to discuss. What special interest groups rarely interest us, man.
Tell me what is going on. Tell me what is going on. What is going on? Tell me what is going on. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Tell me what is going on. Hey, tell me. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Hey.
Hello, we are the Real Bravado Network, and we examine Black people relationships from an image perspective. Image impacts and influences your life and life experiences. It also determines how you were treated and how serious you will be taken. It can also influence your mobility, up or down. Image is a reputation that you are known for, which includes your behaviors, your character, and your appearance. The Real Bravado Network can't complete these objectives without a forensic examination of the 3 phases of the live stream: her image, his image, and our collective image. The Real Bravado Network want Black men and women to win with each other. One way of doing that is to protect each other's image, but first, examining what we have done to our collective image. Please support the Real Bravado Network on YouTube by clicking subscribe, hitting the thumbs up button, clicking the bell notification for updates, and leaving a comment in the comment section. Here at the Real Bravado Network, we dare to be bold, not silent.
Day to day, I try to conceal what I feel.
My heart skips a beat cause her head on straight. Stunning like Flojo running out the gate. She the type of chick with a lot on the plate. Got brains of a nerd, frame of a playmate. Now my heart skips a beat when she next to me. Love was more complex than her sex and me. Ain't afraid to speak of mama, cats is testing me. And she right by my side when they vexing me. Now my heart skips a beat cause she color-wise. Eyes match her thighs, in fact I'm mesmerized. She don't trip, more of a queen than a honey dip. We run tighter than the wild in the money clip. My heart skips a beat so she lace. Romantic getaways, keep a smile on the face. Cause I do the little things that truly mean a lot. Like pitter-patter, my heart stop. Welcome to the essence. Sit back, relax, vibe with me. Slides by choice. You know? Yeah, yo, I hit the world with the change up. Now I'm chillin' like Kirk Schilling when it's time to raise the stakes up. My banks, money, makeup. Big D's is bad like Jordan, just to come to change the game up. Take a peek with my wake up, precise like electric scales. When the KD flake up, monotony break up. Lick the board up one roll like it was a whole chunk breaker. Swing or get swung on, dug or get dug on, play or get played on, fade or get fade on. I'm from West Coast, so it's known as the dough. Hot topics plus melodics make a back dance flow. From nothing to this, a playlist, state of bliss, spit venom in eyes like to Jerry with the green mist. Vision is light, rode inside of one night. My bad, you're doing that cause you're in the vibe ride. Jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake. Slide now, tell me can you feeling that vibe? Come on, it's popping off change, trying to make the vibe just tell me can you be real with that? This is the maze of a soulful blaze, and these keeps hands raised like it was a song of praise. It's on for days, and the nights is even better cause the sun always shines in stormy weather. It's for every other resident, present and past, slow or fast. It's the voice that I represent. Vibe makes it evident, and my Midwest status of course makes it even more relevant. Rap games through the sky, highlights out the box. Word breaks out of bodies like a case of the speaker's box. From the meanest rocks to jazzy reefer spots, dance clubs, beauty shops, beside the arms and truck stop. Believe it or not, this whole moment's a glamour shot. I dupe your cats, cause the shit'll get off the pot. Little voice in my head, so show 'em what you got. Take 16 bars and put the game on lock. Jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake. Slide now, tell me can you feeling that vibe? Come on, it's popping off change, trying to make the vibe just tell me can you be real with that? The game goes back and forth, and teams bring order like cases in just Baptist court. I rhyme some sport, you know, and a 10 plus rap rating means I got dime support. I hold the fort, get too deep to abort. Now Taylor's getting older, I ain't coming up short. Now we bust till we break bones, cause it's the future riding on what I spit in microphone. My voice bouncing off the time zones. Since I'm trying to be your more listeners' ears than dial tones, perception is crystal clear, especially with the gap of longevity beyond a year. It's all real, I'm on a master plan. In that, build your squad around me like I'm Elton Brand. Put up 20 and 10, cause I'm a grown man. Plus the vibe is love, like an Nazi caravan. Jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake. Slide now, tell me can you feeling that vibe? Come on, it's popping off change, trying to make the vibe just
Hello, we are the Real Bravado Network, and we examine Black people relationships from an image perspective. Image impacts and influences your life and life experiences. It also determines how you were treated and how serious you will be taken. It can also influence your mobility, up or down. Image is a reputation that you are known for, which includes your behaviors, your character, and your appearance. The Real Bravado Network can't complete these objectives without a forensic examination of the 3 phases of the live stream: her image, his image, and our collective image. The Real Bravado Network want Black men and women to win with each other. One way of doing that is to protect each other's image, but first, examining what we have done to our collective image. Please support the Real Bravado Network on YouTube by clicking subscribe, hitting the thumbs up button, clicking the bell notification for updates, and leaving a comment in the comment section. Here at the Real Bravado Network, we dare to be bold, not silent.
Day to day, I try to conceal what I feel. I know it's real. Living life alone in a zone deeper than anything I know. As time passes by, I'm feeling naturally high. That's why I say. Feeling like a child, 'cause your smile makes my heart run wild. It's beating oh so fast, quicker than loves of the past. Should I stay? Should I go? You just let me know. I'll skip so
Yo, my heart skips a beat cause her head on straight. Stunning like Flojo running out the gate. She the type of chick with a lot on the plate. Got brains of a nerd, frame of a playmate. Now my heart skips a beat when she next to me. Love was more complex than her sex and me. Ain't afraid to speak of mama, cats is testing me. And she right by my side when they vexing me. Now my heart skips a beat cause she color-wise. Eyes match her thighs, in fact I'm mesmerized. She don't trip, more of a queen than a honey dip. We were tighter than the wild in the money clip. My heart skips a beat so she lace. Romantic getaways, keep a smile on her face. Cause I do the little things that truly mean a lot. Like pitter patter, my heart stop.
Welcome to the essence. Sit back, relax, vibe with me. Slides by choice. Huh, you know? Yeah, yo, I hit the world with the change up. Now I'm chillin' like Dirk Shillin'. When it's time to raise the stakes up, my banks money make up.
Big D's is back like Jordan, just to come to change the game up. Take a peek with my wake up, precise like electric scales. When the KB flake up, when I need break up, lick the board up one roll like it was a whole chunk breaker. Swing or get swung on, dug or get dug on, play or get played on, fade or get fade on. I'm from West Coast, so it's known as the dub. Hot topics plus melodics make a pack dance flow. From nothing to this, a playlist, state of bliss. Spit venom in eyes, like to Jerry with the green mist. Vision this light, rode inside of one night. My bad, you're doing that cause you're in the vibe ride.
Jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake, just slide now, tell me can you feeling that vibe? Come on, it's popping off change, trying to make the vibe just tell me can you be real with that?
This is the maze of a soulful blaze, and these keeps hands raised like it was a song of praise. It's on for days, and the nights is even better cause the sun always shines in stormy weather. It's for every yellow resident, present and past, slow or fast. It's the voice that I represent. Vibe makes it evident, and my Midwest status of course makes it even more relevant. Rap games through the sky, highlights out the box. Word breaks out of bodies like a case of the speaker's box. From the meanest blocks to jazz and reefer spots, dance clubs, beauty shops, cider halls and truck stops. Believe it or not, this whole moment's a glamour shot. I do kill cats, cause the shit'll get off the pot. Little voice in my head, so show 'em what you got. Take 16 bars and put the game on lock.
Jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake, just slide now, tell me can you feeling that vibe? Come on, it's popping off change, trying to make the vibe just tell me can you be real with that?
The game goes back and forth, and D's big order, like cases in just math to score. I rhyme to sport, you know. And a 10 plus rap rating means I got dime support. I hold the fort, get too deep to abort. Now Taylor's getting older, I ain't coming up short. Now we bust till we break bones, cause it's the future riding on when I spit in microphone. My voice bouncing off the time zones. Since I'm trying to be your more listeners' ears and dial tones, reception is crystal clear, especially with the gap of longevity beyond a year. It's all real, I'm on a master plan. In that, build a squad around me like I'm Elton Brand. Put up 20 and 10, cause I'm a grown man. Plus the vibe is love, like an Nazi caravan.
Jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake, just slide now, tell me can you feeling that vibe? Come on, it's popping off change, trying to make the vibe just tell me can you be real with that? It's jumping off with me, street cats and play the shake, just slide now, tell
back. I'm thinking 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 back. Hey, turn the bass up a little bit so I can hear that. Now don't call it a comeback. I'm thinking back on that real rap. But try ask, can I kick it? It was all that. Before trapping and drilling, it was on the flow though. Southern player, listen to Q banging out a solo. MTV Raps, Dr. Dre, your Ned Lover. Peter CL, Lacey Mecca, and the Soul Brother. True school meant the world to me. On that Greg N-I-C-E. We vibe out all in our zone. Digging diggable on that blowout comb. Salt and pepper to light the brat to conscious daughters. And Red Man had me gone off of muddy waters. Reasonable doubt would take me so high. Like when AZ hit off that dough or die. Just another uptown Saturday night like him low. If you don't know, now you know. So big. I'm thinking back. 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 I'm thinking back.
If I was to take you back with me, would you be okay with going after me? Could you keep it going like a battery? I'm just playing, okay, I'ma stay in my lane. But I'm saying if it don't feel like the 90s, I don't want it. Took a vow and I'm keeping to my promise. I'm a purist in the highest sense. She want that old thing back, but in the present tense, I represent something that they ain't never seen. Microphone fame, but in the form of a queen. I'm not your average, and I don't mean to sound like a savage. But if lyrics don't matter, then how the hell can I manage to mesmerize with just the thick of my thighs, green in my eyes? Just the sound of my voice became people's choice. Do you remember the times when we was killing shit every night? Catching vibes, couldn't afford to catch a flight. We had cruise upon cruise in this city, bumping our own shit while we cruising the city. I take pity if you missed the golden era here, when we was bringing that organic flavor to your ear. Yeah.
Thinking back. I'm thinking back. Real rap. Real rap. I'm thinking back. I'm thinking back. I'm thinking back. I'm thinking back. Mama say, mama sigh, mama makusai. That want to be starting something that starts right now. This country is divided, the have-nots are slided. That's why I gotta speak up to get the wrongs righted. My word is all I got, so that's all I give. I'm from the worst place for black folks to live. It's plenty racial shovels for a hole that's dug. Like if you don't go to UW, then you get no love. The homeless crying out, there's no space for us. My race don't come downtown, there's no place for us. It's limited options for a face like us. We all supposed to be equal, not the case for us. When quotas gotta get filled, there's a chase for us. Since it's dollar signs in every cage for us. The unfair advantage, it amazes us. It'll make you cheap the pain away, blaze with us.
Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo, can you tell me?
What is going on? Oh, tell me what is going on. What is going on? What is going on?
Hey yo, welcome to the Midwest. Factory's gone, I swear it's such a hot mess. You ain't tech savvy, then you just stress. To add to the fact that so many are oppressed. Shoot, it ain't no wonder why so many are depressed. You can't be progressive when there's no progress. Progression here is minimal at best. It's enough to keep you under like you under arrest. Seem like a come up for all is never addressed. Dear leader of this country, yo, I'm not impressed. Cause why it seem in blatant hate invest. That's why these bars now are my way to protest. Which way will it go, yo? I don't know. Almost like nobody don't love no more. All the lies and deceit, yo, they got to go. Mr. Apprentice should be fired from this TV show.
Tell me what is going on.
Hey, yo, can you tell me?
What is going on? Hey, tell me what is going on. What is going on? What is going on?
Now which way do we lean? Do the right thing, Radio Raheem. Either push for love or there's a push for hate. With so many open places, it ain't open for debate. Those that got the bread claim it's never enough. But those without it are the folks that got it rough. Regard for one another is how we get done. Now chant and go back to where they came from. But the they is the us cause we are here. All the divide talk is based out of fear. Let's not pretend what message does it send. With some spouting off words that offend. The greedy type of games broken down to classes. Most mass shooters don't look like my masses. No time for us to discuss. For special interest groups rarely interest us. Man.
Tell me what is going on. Tell me what is going on. What is going on? Tell me what is going on.
Hey yo, what is going on?
What is going on? What is going on? Tell me what is going on. Hey, tell me. Oh, what is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Hey.
life is artwork. You might not understand this. The way that I spit is like putting strokes on the canvas. Taking notes of all the urban cries. Put it down, materialize, then watch as the paint dries. Better bet the ink, cause every time I think it's time to keep it flow while these other cats sing. No Titanic, too over dramatic. I feel like new addition in the brain now. Tell me, can you stand it? With each word I'm building me a steeple. And if you open my works up, there you'll find my cathedral. You got your wood stains, a little glass paint, but it all tell a story, man. Think that it can't. Where I come from, it's deer hunters and street guns. So I spray these words like the Uzi weighs a ton. It's that heavy. I'm pouring this out from my heart to give you the truth. The way that you see is art. Now you can tell by the voice that it ain't a joke. And everything that spit is just like a brushstroke. Paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a picture. Yo, this life's artwork. Now you can tell by the voice that it ain't a joke. And everything that it spit is like a brushstroke. Paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a picture. Yo, this life's art. My description, better yet my mission is to visualize and give the world vision. Work to heal the streets with a little audio heat. And smooth it all out over laid back beats. A to the R to the T, Wisco flow. Like you're in a gallery and see a Picasso. But this ain't Picasso, baby. Even though it's like Jay, cause it's gon' drive the world crazy. This is for those admiring and looking. I heat it up for Instagram and play the rest cooking. It's so acrylic every time that I spit it. My foliage show that I all get it. Speaking of, this art get wows and awes. Like a masterpiece that's up in the halls. Everything is so realistic, but better yet, man, yo, it's so artistic. Cause now you can tell by the voice that it ain't a joke. And everything that spit is just like a brushstroke. Paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a picture. Yo, this life is artwork. Now you can tell by the voice that it ain't a joke. And everything that it spit is like a brushstroke. Paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a picture. Yo, this life is artwork. My glaze hand bring the pick on home. I'm just an artiste in the Midwest zone. Now it's a lot of cats that paint, but they ain't making art. Cause they be lying from the very start. So I make it a point that I paint what I feel. Cause I know deep inside what I feel is all real. And this exhibit don't end till I say so. Sincerely yours, Michael Tangelo. Now you can tell by the voice that it ain't a joke. And the way that it spit is like a brushstroke. Paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch, paint a pitch.
We are the Real Bravado Network, and we address Black relationships from an image perspective. Image impacts and influences your life and life experiences. It also determines how you are treated and influence how people interact with you. Image is the reputation that you are known for, which includes your behaviors, your character, and your appearance. There's nothing more damaged than the image of the Black man in America. The Real Bravado Network's next phase of development with our live stream, Have the Conversation, will focus on his image. The Real Bravado Network will be asking, how can a Black man be a leader of his community and home when the vast majority of Black men have never been led? Leadership is taught and a skill that needs coaching, development, and refinement. Over the next few months, we will complete a forensic examination of his image. Please join the Real Bravado Network on YouTube, but we dare to be the bold, not silent.
She might not be a cynical, but she's a supermodel to me. I so taking care of Mel with an honest smile. Feather earrings in with a fly hairstyle. Play her status, professional on lock. But on the weekend, like to show the Black girls ride. She eat like Sunday morning, this is good as it gets. Whether in a dress or heels or she in chucks and sweats. Ghetto girl going good, that's the reason I love her. At the gym 5 times a week to get in, her tough mother. Word to Jeffrey Osborne, this is my love ballad. LTD encouraged me, got me munching on salad. And she even got me backing off the dude. I don't know about you, but that's what the real wanna do. She don't like my late nights, but she respect my hustle. Put my head to her chest when she seeing the struggle. I know I'm blessed. They don't make many like her. She get a princess, man. I think I might wife.
My breath, my mind, my heart and soul. Beauty, but it's so much more. She my destiny.
She got the last.
She bring the best to me.
She got the last.
No need to wait another day when it's this way. I know she was sitting here to rescue me.
She got the last.
Cause she was just too late.
She got the last. I know. It's a lot to deal with me. I love on how she keep it real with me. Cause it's a lot of thoughts to do what I say so. But she simply shake her head and she be like, no. I love her physical, respect her mental. In fact, she's so spiritual, ain't coincidental. Now we both got our feet on soil. I can't do nothing but thank the Lord we living as royals. I remember being a big dude with small schemes. She helped me stretch it out and turn it into huge dreams. Thelma Evans, good, swear she my best friend. With my pockets tight, she give the card to the ATM. I love when we're alone, she give me selfie poses. I tell her I appreciate her and she dig it more than roses. If Eve came from Adam, then she my rib. I've been waiting for a good one, let's have some
My breath,
kids.
my heart and soul. Beauty, but it's so much more. She my destiny.
She got that last.
She bring the best to me.
She got that last. She
No need to wait another day when it's this way. I swear she was here to rescue me.
She got that last. She got that last.
She took my breath, my love, my heart and soul. Her beauty, but it's so much more. She my destiny.
She got that last.
She bring the best to me.
She got that last.
No need to wait another day when it's this way. I know she was sitting here to rescue me.
She got that last.
Cause she bring it just to me.
She got that last.
She took my breath, my mind, my heart and soul. My beauty, but it's so much more. She my destiny.
She got that last.
She bring the best to me.
She got that last.
No need to wait another day when it's this way. I swear she was here to rescue me.
She got that last.
She bring it just to me.
She got that last.
I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play, I just win every day, I get it in. I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play, I just win every day, I get it in. I'm a king and I will never knew. Plotting for my fall, you getting hanged for treason. I don't aim to please, do anything I feel. Haters gonna talk, don't listen to the shit. They tryna be like me, they know they can't even get lost. I'm on a pedestal, sitting on my throne. My neck be decked in gold. I don't do no hoes. I've got a queen though. I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play it, I just win every day, I get it in. I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play it, I just win every day, I get it in. I'm a king, I told you guys before. Ready for the war, to get me way much more. Gather all this parts, item to my kingdom. Shout out to my fans for pledging your allegiance. You get a reward, the best flow you've ever heard. I don't be mixing with birds, I'm a lion on the surge. Always pushing to the edge, facing arrows, never scared. For my greatness I'm a servant, only under myself. I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play it, I just win every day, I get it in. I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play it, I just win every day, I get it in.
All right, y'all. We are back. We are back. You know, this is first of all, let me see. Let me get out of here. Struggle stream. Let me get out of here. You know, when I was putting this one together, couple things. When I was putting this one together, this one, you know, have you ever had a thought that you're trying to get out and you're trying to get it out and it ain't coming out the way you want? That's this stream, but we're gonna roll with it today. Also, I did not, when I actually scheduled this today, I actually did not realize it was Valentine's Day. I'm one of those who I don't care less. I don't care anything about Valentine's Day. But as we got closer, people started telling me, but I was like, look, we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to be on while we be on. We're going to do the work we do, and we're going to go on about our business. All right. I hopefully, because I don't know if there's a miscommunication, supposed to have a guest today. We'll see if they show up. Regular guests are here, so we're gonna hop right into it. I want to start the show today with I'm going to start off with a video. We're kind of going to get right into it. The topic today is the burden of a black man. As you can see behind me, that's the topic of today. We're going to try to have a pretty serious conversation about it. We'll just get to it. Let me get to this video real quick. Let's just go ahead and get started with this video. So I want everybody that is watching, check out the video. Let me see. Oh, hey there. Neither do I. All right, here we go. Let me check out this video. We'll get rolling, okay?
Film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? You know, people have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, you know, it's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does it mean? It's like, well, these men, they're They don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, like, be picky. That's your gift, man. Demand high standards from your men. Fair enough. But all these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
So that was a guy named Jordan Peterson. If you really don't know who he is, just go ahead and like on YouTube, search Jordan Peterson. You may or may not like him. You may rage out against him about some of the stuff that he say, but that interview was done with Piers Morgan, and I think it was a very profound interview. Jordan Peterson, more specifically, he's kind of like Jordan Peterson is to white men as Kevin Samuels is to black men. Now, Jordan Peterson wouldn't necessarily characterize himself like that because he's had the comparisons before, but he doesn't really kind of talk about him like that. But I needed for discussion's sake, I needed a reference. And the late Kevin Samuels was a close comparison to like who Jordan Peterson actually is. And Jordan Peterson really proclaims himself for trying to be the voice for marginalized men, mostly white men. And he strongly advocates for men that are classified as incels, as they talked about, and Piers Morgan in that clip was talking about something about that they were weird men or whatever the case may be. No, incel is really short for involuntarily celibate, meaning so those are men that really are not necessarily attractive to the female species for whatever reason. It could be physical, it could be awkwardness, it could be social, it could be a lot of different reasons. But listen, I've had many conversations with black women who believe the vast majority of black men can have a woman if they just want one, they can go get one. Most sisters believe that black men, we can just go get whatever, and it's okay, but the problem is that the numbers, and I know people like to beat me up with the numbers just don't support that. I think we're gonna. I had once upon a time the whole stream about the numbers. I'm gonna have a numbers debate, and I'm gonna bring my sister up to have this numbers debate with me because we talk about it all the time, boy. But speaking about the numbers, I don't hear men rejecting the data quite like women do. So women have a complete, rejection of the data. They don't believe it, but men don't really talk like that. So I'm really interested to find out why. But 54% of black men are single, and black women flat out reject that. The fact that 54% of black men are single, they don't believe it. I've had multiple conversations with hundreds of women, and they do not believe that the majority of black men are single. Our women also don't believe that only between 13 to 20% of black men create all the kids in the black community. They don't believe that either. And one of the reasons why they don't believe that, because the most common response I get to that is, I know a whole bunch of black men with children, but then ask them another question. How many women does that man have kids with? And then you will get quiet. You'll hear the quiet. Because oftentimes it's more than one or more than two. So then that starts at least that gets them thinking, well, maybe the men that I do know, they got multiple. That means, and I've said this time and time again, most of our women, their children's father, they're not the only woman that their father fathered their children. This man has fathered other children by other women. So that means our women are sharing men. And they don't want to quite believe that. So let's get back to Jordan Peterson real quick. He choked up at the thought of the volume of men who are simply left out of the mating or marriage market or dating market. And according to multiple studies, 30% of all men are still virgins by the time they're 30 years old, which was a shock to me too. I didn't believe it, but study after study after study have been done, but that seems to be, the case. But I have zero expectation that anyone gives a damn about the plight of men who can't get women. So I'm not going to pretend like we actually care about the men that can't get women. When it comes down to men, most people don't care about many men's issues, but that's okay. When it comes to Black people, though, there's a huge disconnect. 75% of our women are single. 54% of our men are single. Black people, we have the two largest groups of single people in this country. There are more single Black men than there are single white men or any other men of any other race in this country. There are more single Black women than any other group of women in this country. There are more single Black women than any group, period. No other group has a single rate of, and when they talk about single, they mean unmarried. No other group has 75% single rate other than our women. And our women are very dogmatic about what they want, what they need, what they expect, and what they are not going to, quote, settle for. Our women have made it crystal clear. They're not settling for anything less than 6 feet, $125K a year. He has to be fine. We're not selling for anything less than Christian. We're not selling anything less than worship me like a queen. Anything less than take care of my kids like they're your own. Anything less than a thug in the streets and a professional at work. Anything less than being a business builder. Anything less than meeting all my needs, wants, desires. Nothing less than a leader who treats me like a partner. And let's not forget, this man gotta love to travel. And let's not forget the most important thing. The man gotta have a foot-long ding-dong and can last 2 hours and always looking to level up. The expectation for Black men are on a level that no other man in history has had to live up to for their women. Our women want all of those things that I just named just so he can have the honor of having a baby mama as his woman. Okay. Fair enough. Good for you, as Jordan Peterson say. Be as picky as you want to be. Don't settle. If our Black women don't fully understand the burdens of Black men. If you don't understand it, I'm going to try to talk about it a little bit today. I'm not talking about this subject for sympathy, but for our women to find a way to be able to reach your goal. Most Black women want a Black man they can look up to and they can be proud of. But do you actually understand your Black man on the level that you need to? I'm not talking about, and I'm not going to be referencing like the celebrity man or the sports athlete. I'm going to talk about the regular old brother, which is out here single. Regular old brother, 54%, regular old brother. Middle class income, regular old brother. That's what I'm going to talk about today. The world does not owe me or you understanding fair. The people that understand that statement the most are Black men. This country was built for the safety and comfort of women and children. No complaints there. The needs of the man have never been taken into consideration because because our reward was kind of understood. It was unspoken. The payment for men came from the social contract. We got our benefit from the hard work and the labor. We got money. And in conjunction with that, based on our level of character with our production, we got the best woman around us. And she gave us legacy for all of that. Like I said, for a man, this was unspoken. This was his reward. This was the social contract. We build it, we protect it, we get and we get the best version of a woman as our reward based on our character and how productive we are. That was supposed to be the social contract. But now here we are in 2023, where the reward for productive men is unclear. It's not understood. And yet the world still has the attitude that the world doesn't owe me or you understanding. The culture still asks a lot of men with no longer a clear road for reward. With a world or a country that has firmly taken that position that it does not owe me or you understanding, the unspoken social contract between men and women appears to be broken, at least for Black folk. When Black women talk about their wants and their needs from the men that share their reflection, I can honestly say our Black women have no idea what they're asking from their men or of their men. Our women just don't realize that they are asking, Our women don't understand what they're asking because they don't understand the burden that Black men carry, or maybe they just don't care. Here, I want to play a video of something about a young man who has a burden and the reaction to the burden. And this is, I'm going to play this real quick. We'll come back and talk about it.
I'm tired. Like I said, I'm depressed. I have personal things going on. Sometimes that
Tell us what those personal things
that
are.
can stop people. Me being depressed.
What are those personal things you're going through? Stop yelling about them and tell us about it.
All right, like my personal stuff. Like I never really had friends, and then when I got around friends, I basically always did exactly. I always had to like. It's like I feel like you gave me everything, but you kind of gave me too much. But because you gave me too much, my friends were jealous of me. I always had fake friends around me. See, that's what I'm saying. It's cool that you did that, but you also got to understand what that brings, what that attracts. You got to feel me on that. That's what I'm saying.
You got some twisted logic going on here. That's some twisted logic.
I'm just saying, it's mental things that can mess with. It's mental things that bothers me in the physical world. You're telling us that you're depressed? I don't have motivation. How can I have motivation? Yes. How can I have my motivation when everything is handed to me?
Right. So you're telling us that you're depressed?
Yeah, I'm depressed. I'm always depressed. I'm in a dark spot. I know I'm in a dark spot, and I've been there for a long time.
But Ty, that's still no reason that if you feel that in your dark place, to take that out on your mother.
Mr. Elemental, do me a favor. Go ahead and cam up. I'm about to bring you up. If you're there in the back.
Listen, I've said this many times, right? Children of later generations have such a separation from the struggle that this is part of their issue, right? Because now, almost, right? And I'm not trying to diminish or downgrade what the young brother was saying, but it almost sounded like he was suffering from his mother's success.
What do you mean suffering from her success?
Because he said, oh, because of the things that you did, right? Now I've only had fake friends around me. Now I haven't dealt with some of the things that I should have dealt with based on his mother's success, right? It wasn't because, oh, I was abused. Oh, I was dealt with this. Oh, we came in poverty. It was in that particular case, he was talking about because of his mother's success, she almost did more bad for him than good.
Because he didn't know how to manage that.
Exactly.
And then instead of us understanding the fact that he didn't know how to manage it, of course, you notice there's no dad up on that stage. And you notice that all the ladies decided he's talking about, I'm depressed, I don't know what I'm doing. And this segment I call it the burden of confusion. This is the segment I'm calling this.
Okay.
I'm going to get to the burden of confusion. Black men, young black men, grown black, well, when I say young adults, 18 to 25, they're confused. 25 to 35, we're confused. Well, by the time you're around 40, you understand that you've been confused. And then now you got to try to do something about it.
Listen, I'm not gonna say that there is anything wrong, right, with understanding how to communicate with the females in your life, with the women that have created the dichotomy that we exist in, right? We are part father, part mother, right? Like you're saying, that particular piece was devoid of a male presence, right? So what they were trying to do was invoke an emotional response, which is great, right? For him to be able to express those things, but what does that mean going forward? Yes, we're bringing it out. Yes, we're addressing it, but how do we deal with that going forward to deal with the things that we're talking about this evening, right? Like we know these things, right? Like you said, women are very dogmatic, or some are very dogmatic, right? In their thinking, right? They have to have this and this and this. They want a man with emotion to be emotional, all these different things. So when we're looking at that and you take this clip into account, how does that really work? Right?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, here's the question. And I'm going to get to this a little bit later down the line here. But how does this work? You know, this is an overly emotional young adult male. How do you think women are going to respond to him?
Well, here's the thing about that, right? Because a lot of times I've heard in a lot of relationships and a lot of cats that I've talked to, right? Women say, oh, you need to understand my emotions more, right? So then if you're dealing with that, right? So then he becomes more in tune with his emotion. Does he become more in tune with that, with his relationship, and less in tune with the masculine aspect of who he is, if that's seen as a negative? Or is it more important for him to be in tune with his divine feminine more so than his divine masculine?
Okay, here's the question. I mean, I don't know, but you know, from your anecdotal experience, talking to ladies about, I mean, most ladies have encountered an overly emotional, exasperated guy. Is that something that turns them on?
On?
Yes.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
As in a friendship zone, I believe 100% that person can be valuable.
Yeah.
Right. But in a relationship status, I don't think that the emotional balance would be equal in that sense, in my perspective.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna leave that right there. I'm gonna get right back to you. Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Man. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to outline some of the burdens that men must carry, and a lot of times we do it in silence. You know. Before I get there, I forgot to do a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning because I just kind of jumped in this. Listen, we are the Real Bravado Network, and we talk about relationships from an image perspective. My name is TJ Moore, and most of my life, I've never really put much stock into anything related to image. Up until a few years ago, I viewed images like this abstract, superficial thing that people with no substance cared about. As I thought it was all about perception, but as I evolved or got older, I realized how short-sighted that was. And so I kind of changed my thought process on what image was. And I understand when you take it seriously, what that actually means, okay? But I can't cover every burden that a man carries. So, but let me make this perfectly clear. The men I'm talking about that I'm trying to, the men that I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the basement dwelling, women mooching, dumpster fires that are simply failure to launches. I'm not talking about the son husbands or the men that require their woman's income, home, transportation for his daily survival. I'm not talking about those men's burdens. I'm speaking specifically about the regular old brother. The ones who should be the foundation building blocks of our Black nation. I'm talking about them, the burdens that they carry. And I'm going to try to, and I'm calling, like I just told my friend there, I'm calling this the burden of confusion. All right, so from the age of 20 to about 30, I thought I understood. I thought I understood a lot of things. I mean, Come on now. By the time I reached 30 years old, I had two grad degrees. I believe I had a clear understanding and view of the world. I thought I had a fair grip on how to process and handle complex situations. I knew that I knew. You know, you couldn't tell me any different. But something happened. Around the age of 30, I met my biological grandfather, my father's father. The first time I had a disagreement with him, what I thought I knew went out the window with one sharp, brutal statement. And he said this to me: I can't talk to you. You argue like a woman. If this man wasn't my grandfather, I had never, ever, in the way he said it, the sharpness. I ain't never been assaulted like that. In my world, this man that I've only known for about not even that long, just a year prior, I didn't even know who he was. In my world, this man just called me a bitch-made man. And I'm 30. And I'm established. And I'm educated. I made it to 30 without his guidance. I'm talking about what I knew. I was livid. But little did I know that statement would begin a near decade-long awakening that would lead me to understand that I was confused. Like most black men right now between the ages of 25, 55, we were raised in single-parent homes. I also have another distinction that many black people have in common, especially black boys. I was raised by my grandmother. Because my mother, I was raised by my grandmother because my mother she wasn't up for the task. She had me, she was 16. That's not the reason, because she was 16, I wasn't with her, because she got married and had subsequent children. She just wasn't up to the task of raising me. My grandmother dominated and ran her home with an iron fist. Her authority in the home was absolute. To be honest, when I think about those days, my grandmother, the most things that I remember about her and her behavior, she was always in a constant state of rage. Always. I don't recall many occasions where I saw her laughing or being joyful. All I saw was mostly anger, short-tempered, easily offended. Her weapon of choice with me and the other children in the house was the silent method. If you fell out of favor with her, she simply stopped talking to you. If you put all of those things together, and all you're trying to do is be a kid and do what kids do, especially if you are a boy, how in the world do you think I internalized all of that? How do you think that impacted my development and my social development? Her style of communicating was always confrontational. Now, my grandmother never started conflicts, not in general. But if she was invited to one, she never met a conflict she didn't like. She was always aggressive. And it didn't matter the level of conflict either. Every perceived misstep with her, in her mind, was time to go to war. That's how she operated. She was never short for telling you not to take no shit off nobody. Actually, her actual words were, never let no monkey talk crazy to you. That's what her actual words. So growing up, what do you think? What do you think I thought was the right way to handle conflict? And how do you think I handled that conflict? What kind of emotional energy do you think I gave off? Now, remember what I just said. At the age of 30, I had a conflict with my grandfather, whom I had met for the first time 1 year prior. And his response to me was, I can't talk to you. You argue like a woman. At the time, I thought he was being cruel. But given his generation and how they handle things or the way that they taught, it was the best way he knew how to attempt to tell me that there was something off about me, especially how I dealt with conflict with another man. But here's the question: where in the world was I taught how to engage with a man or a male authority? Where was I taught that? I learned from my grandmother, and this is not knocking her. You know, she's only doing the best she can do. This is not a knock on her. And often as a young man, we don't see our mothers or grandmothers for what they actually are. We don't see them as women. We know that we know that grandma's a female. We know that. But she ain't no like woman, you know. She's not a girl. I mean, she's a girl, but she's not like a girl, you know. We see them as something different. And we don't see them as a woman and all that comes with being a woman. So growing up, let me say something. Growing up, I never saw a rotation of men in and out of the house. That didn't happen. There was only one guy in the house, Mr. William Payne, Mr. Willard Payne, the concrete man, the construction man. Now, while looking back on that man, now as a man myself, a few things stood out. One, he did a hell of a job that he did not have to do. And it was not his job to do it. And he did it without thanks, respect, or appreciation. While I really liked this man, I treated him very poorly as a young man and well into my teenage years. I absolutely tortured this man. I disrespected him every chance I got. I did it not because I didn't like the man. It's not like I did not like him. I did like him. I did it because I knew there was nothing he can do about it. My grandmother, to her, one of the failures that I would have to admit, and I think to a degree she would admit this too, is that in front of me and the other kids in the house, which included her son, my grandma has a son, we're about a year apart. In the house, she would state over and over again that he was not allowed to discipline anyone in the house. She would say this in his face in front of us. She would constantly threaten to put him out if he made any attempt to correct our behavior the way a man should correct out of control boys' behaviors. So whenever she left the house, it was like the boxing ring went off, like ding, ding, ding. It was on and popping. We were at that dude. We did everything we could to provoke this man. Not because we disliked him, not because he was mean to us, or not that we were even like terrible children. It's because we knew, you know, we could get away with it. It was fun to us. It was a game. We're kids. We're stupid. It was a game. The behavior that this very good man had to tolerate should have never been allowed to happen. But because he lived in my grandmother's house and we weren't his grandchildren or his children, we could mistreat this man as we saw fit because we had our marching orders from my grandmother. This man provided a mostly comfortable living in the house. I know that now. You know that then. He was always kind, except, you know, when we were torturing him, then, you know, he was screaming at us, but all he could do was scream. There wasn't nothing else he can do, you know? And this was a big dude. Like he was like a construction worker, concrete layer. The man was built like concrete. If he touched you, it felt like he was killing you. And all he was doing is putting his hand on you. He was if he actually like whooped one of us, my God, I don't think we would be here right now. You know, he was that much of a towering presence. But when you got kids who can disrespect him and he can't, in his mind, can't do anything about it, I mean, you know, it was a free for all. Through all of that, he was extremely protective of us. He would give us his last. But because my grandmother had no issue with letting the kids and him know he had no real influence in the home, we learned that a man's authority is only as strong as a woman allows. And by the way, my grandmother barely knew that we did this to this man because he never told on us. A man's authority in my eyes was only as strong as a woman allowed, because that's all I saw. With the majority of black men in this country, with the majority of black men in this country that want a black woman, black men, I'm sorry to tell you guys, I hate to break the bad news to you, but you will be stepfathers. And many of them will be, and many of us will be in positions like he was in the home. But by the time I understood what a remarkable thing this man did, I was in my late 20s. I remember tracking down his number, and I wanted to call him and thank him for the job that he did, and tell him sorry for the hell we put him through. And instead of calling right away, I kept putting it off, and I kept putting it off because of I don't know why I kept putting it off, but I just did. You know how it is. I intend to, I'm going to, I'm fixing to do all of that stuff. And then about 8 months after I got his number, I got a call from my grandmother letting me know that he passed away because he had moved to another state. So this man left the world not knowing that in his prime, he did a remarkable job and was a remarkable man, even with all of his failures. And he never got to hear from anybody in that house, thank you. The burdens of a black man. Productive, character-driven black men will often carry burdens of a thankless job. Many of these black men will go through life never having the people that they impacted acknowledge them. This is not a complaint. It's just an identification of a burden that many black men carry and will carry. So with me watching the most influential woman in my life treat this man the way she did, the message she sent us growing up about who we should respect was, I developed an unconscious, dismissive, and combative way of interacting with any man. This manifested itself in many ways throughout my life. Before I met my father, my grandfather, there were two men that came into my life at different points, and they made a great attempt to try to correct some of his behavior issues. They tried. Both of these men I actually worked for. They were both supervisors of mine, two black men. They tried to teach me and have an impact on me as an adult, but my imprinting was just that strong. I would go and complain about what I was going on at work. And then I would hear the same thing. You don't let no monkey get in your face like that. I don't care if he pay you or not. Yeah. So I just would reinforce that bad habit at work. I fought these men at every turn. Anytime I thought they were showing me any kind of disrespect, man, the fight was on, because I wasn't going to let no monkey talk crazy to me. To the credit of these two men, they never gave up on me. One of the men that became my supervisor in my professional life should have fired me about 8 or 9 times. He never did. Never got a raise, but he never fired me. He just kept me. He kept working with me. These two brothers showed such a high level of grace that I did not deserve. It's not their job to do that. but the burdens of a black man. Potential, they had the attitude, I'll be damned if I don't do everything I can to not make sure that this potential don't go off the rails. The burdens of a black man. So here's a message directed at our black women. Your black men or your man, if he's between the ages of 25, 55 or so, one of the burdens that these black men carry is that many of us have no understanding or have incorrect understanding or flat out confusion about what manhood is supposed to look like. The man that shares your reflection was raised by a woman. He has the view of a woman. No shade there. The worst thing a male child needs in his manhood development is for that development to come from a woman. There are things that our women are specifically phenomenal in, but that's not one of them. Women will teach their sons to be the men that they are not attracted to. Women will imprint on their boys this fancy Disney image of a man, and not what is actually required for manhood. Our women will train his mind, his behavior, his instincts to be the white knight, and women walk all over white knights. We also call them simps. Women are not sexually attracted to white knights or simps. They'll put them in the friend zone. They'll be your buddy. They're like your little not so gay best friend. And ladies, you have to come to terms with that you have very little to do with a man's development. You can't teach it. You can't develop it. To a degree, you don't even know how to recognize it. To a degree. Most of you can only feel it when it's next to you. You know it when you see it, but you can't articulate it. And you can't teach it. Only a man can bring someone into manhood. Many of us don't even know that our manhood is off a little bit. We don't even know. We're unaware because we accept the way we were raised. And we have this thing in us that tells us we will not, our mothers, our grandmothers will never do or give us anything to harm us, which is absolutely true and false at the same time. Miss Philly, go ahead and cam up. All right, go ahead and unmute for me. Are we struggle streaming? Okay, there we go. Hey, go ahead and unmute for me.
Okay.
All right, so that was a lot.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I think some guys, like you said, it depends on the upbringing and that mental hardwire. You know, some people when they speak or comment or what have you, like that one little zettabyte, you go on overload, so it don't register for me. So yeah, it is something that's not masculine there. So that's why it doesn't register for me. But I think when it comes to placing the men that are men, I think, like I always say, just some things have to be redirected. It's the guidance. It wasn't any guidance there. And so they have to get around those men or whoever, mentors or what have you, to get that guidance. And as we know, it's something we as women cannot teach, and I'm not going to teach. If I see something or, something coming at me that's feminine as me, or whatever, I mean, it's pointless. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Also, dealing with the information, like men deal back to the virgins, like we on like an information overload. Like men have the upbringing of the home, men have the upbringing of, the information coming from what the environment, surroundings, or whatever. So they can only take what they can take, and only so much. Like our minds already kind of like go into like automatic, like it filters out what pretty much decides what needs to be filtered out and what not. So I mean, as men grow older, like they have to decide like what was or what is valuable to keep and what to throw out, because over time, like your life changes, you change as a person, like your values, your everything, like you, let's say, like when you know better, you do better. So over time that changes, and sometimes it don't change for some men, like they be however old and still on the same ish. So I mean, that's just my take.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Hold on a second. Let me bring him another guy real quick. All right, Mr. Element. What do you think about that statement? I mean, the last statement that I made.
I think Mr. Willie Payne plays a very key role in this, right? And how we see the implant in our homes, right? My grandfather always said there's no steps in this house, only those leading up to the front door. Right? And that's how we moved about our life. That's how we moved about our family life, and we still do. So when you look at what you're saying, right, as far as men kind of just having almost female wiring, right? What you're saying, right? And I love the fact that your granddad said that to you. Like, I can't argue with you. You argue like a woman.
I didn't like that when it happened, bro.
oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not, right? Because you're like, well, what exactly does that mean? Because what does it mean if I'm arguing like a man? Does that mean we're supposed to fight now? Does that mean we're supposed to spit on each other? Are we supposed to slap each other and then somebody has to die after we pace and duel? Right? Because that is how men did it before. If we're going off of what happened before us, that is how it went down. Right? But now that we're actually addressing these emotions and these feelings, right? It's like, oh no, I don't want to argue with you because you're talking about that. Right? Because now we're actually getting to the heart of the issues. Right? And I think that's part of how America was built, and how, we talk about the separation between church and state, right? Let's talk about the separation between personal and professional life, right? Going into, what kind of Philly was saying, right? We have this information overload, right? Where our minds kind of go into this autopilot of, oh, it's supposed to be this way, it's supposed to go like this, right? And instead of being in the driver's seat of saying, no, this is how it's supposed to go, right? Yes, we are extremely protective, right? Because we were taught by people who are extremely protective. We weren't taught by people who say, oh, this is how we solve our problems, right? We actually discuss our issues, right? We sit down at the kitchen table, right? Listen, like you said, fathers, whether it be implant fathers or biological fathers, we carry the burdens of a thankless job, right? Because we are mandated to be the strength, but we are also mandated to understand the softness of our other side, right? We can't just be hard and rigid all the time. We have to be soft and fluid because that is our makeup, right? That's the only way that we actually get things done. It's not with these all the time.
Right.
So if we are not paying attention to those things, we will continue to fight against the same things we are fighting against each other, because that, in essence, is how men solve problems.
Right. Yeah. With each other, eventually we can. A lot of people, I tell people all the time, if you want to see an actually fully developed man, a fully developed man is slow to fight, physically fight. He's slow to do that.
Yes.
Because he understands when he has to engage with another man in a fist fight, that might be the end of one or both of their lives. Most men are slow.
There is no in between.
Yeah,
right. It's either you or me, because that when you talk about law of the jungle, that's really what it is. You're talking about be a man. You're talking about be a male, right? That's that's the worst things. I really hate that phrase. It's like, oh, be a man. Okay. So when I gnarl and snarl everything around me and I piss on everything because it's now all mine, then what do you see me as?
Right. The reason why I did this subject, this subject, is because, I hear, I do listen to, I go back and forth and try to educate and try to have these conversations, even with my sisters or other people that I work with and, women in my life. And they have, I listed all of those standards that they got for us, and I list them and I just go, do you guys even know what you're asking? Do you even know what you're asking for? And I said, and do you not understand how your men right now, you want a man like your grandfather, but those men are dying out. Though your great-great-grandfather, we ain't those men no more. And not that we don't want to be those men. We do, we just don't know how, because we were brought up in a situation that did not allow for that kind of development. Yes, there are a few of us that are there that are doing it, that got it. Yeah, but it's not the majority of us. And if I always talk about on the stream about that we need a new deal. One of the new deals that we need is just a profound level of understanding that we are not where we need to be. That's okay. We can't wait till we get there, because we may never get where we need to be. We gotta get together and bump along the way as we go, like every other culture has done.
But based on what? We're not where we are. We're not where we're supposed to be based on what, right? Because in all actuality, we are a young culture. If we're talking about being Black in America, we're a young culture.
We're very young culture, and I'm not trying to down us too bad, because we're we're just a little over 100 years out of chattel slavery. We are 60 years away from 90% of us being illiterate. Okay. You know what I mean? We're that's a leaps and bounds,
right?
But we're about 50 years away from intact families. We lost that.
Well, there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? There's a lot of factors that go into that.
It's a lot of factors.
This is why I love this list right here, right? And also what you were mentioning in the beginning, right? The burdens of a Black man, right? Listen, how many women have ever walked down the street and have to deal with the cuff bag phenomenon, right? Or the arm squeeze phenomenon. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Those types of things, right? So as we're talking about, Willie Payne and how we're wired for, this different thing or different from men of our past generation, right? Listen, women want the hardworking men of like my great grandfather, the porters on the train, right? But they want somebody flashy and stylish to do the gritty with them. You know what I mean? To get down and do all these things. But like you said, 6 foot with 6-figure bank accounts, right? But if men started to do those things, people, period, not just men or women, when you start trying to sculpt out a person, this is what people have been trying to do for years. Now you're talking about designer people, and now you're not being realistic anymore.
No. And that's not, and here's the thing. When we had intact families, our men weren't 6-figure men. That was a rare, look, to this day, it's a rare man.
It is.
And here's the thing. And back then, with a man being a garbage man, he got the opportunity to create his own family, and the woman was glad to have the garbage man because he had an income, and he was respectable.
Oh, he had a respectable profession.
Yes,
right. A garbage man. Listen, a respectable profession in the community, right? A tax-paying, right, voting member of their community, HOA members, all these things.
Let me tell you about another burden that our women don't understand that we carry. We carry the burden of the failed family. They don't believe that. We carry the burden of our women picking the dumpster fires to reproduce with. We carry that burden because I know at some point one of the productive brothers are going to have to come in there and do that job, do that dumpster fire's job.
Listen, I mean, first of all, there's only one Tupac, rest in peace to the legend, who mentioned Brenda's got a baby, right? There's only two ways that story can end, right? Either Pac is telling a story about Brenda leaving the baby, or Pac is telling a story about a man who saved her. And now the baby is something else, right? Kind of going into what you're saying, right? You're coming into this, you have all these things, but now you are coming into a non-necessarily traditional home, right? So you still are expected to come into these things with the income, with the stature, with the ability and willingness to be a father and create a family situation, but it's not necessarily biologically yours. But as I go back to what I said in the beginning, like my granddad said, the only things that are step leading into this house are the stairs outside, right? So in here, this is family, and you have to treat it as such, right? But everybody's not built that way. I'm sorry, right?
Yeah, well, and then here's the thing. The Willie Paynes of the world, which is where he should have been, he was with no shade to my grandma. You know, I take care of her, and you know, she did something that my mother wouldn't do, you know. But he had that mindset, but he had a woman in the house that fought him on it, you know, every step of the way. But this is about talking to our women and trying to get them to understand. You know, you don't understand what you're asking of your men because you don't know what they're carrying. They're carrying the failures of the culture. They're carrying their personal failures. Let's just say this is not about sympathy or anything like that. But for me, let's just say, who's going to carry the burden if I can't build this platform? Who's that going to eat at? That's going to eat at me.
But it also depends on who tells the story.
Yeah.
Right? So if I tell the story, me being a male, if I tell the story, then it's going to come off a very different way because I'm going to say, hey, this brother did this and he was trying to do this. We need to do this, right? Compared to someone else who may say, you know what? He was trying to have this conversation. It was really great, but he failed at doing this. He didn't do this. So I'm telling you, so you don't come across the same shortcomings that they did, so you can find success where they did.
Absolutely. And I'm just saying, you know, we have to carry the burdens of our failures, our woman's failures, her children's failures, our children's failures. And no one's going to sit there and give you a pity pot, including your own woman.
Absolutely not.
And the expectation, that's why I say to our women, understand what you are asking. We are going to voluntarily carry that burden. We'll do it happily. We'll do it in a way that you don't know we're carrying it. But you got to offer us something worth the burden and the carry.
Listen, they're not there yet. Also, please understand that there will be a release that is necessary, right? All of that pressure, all of that weight, right? A lot of times men find themselves in difficult situations because they don't have a release valve, right? And And listen, I know, right? It's difficult sometimes, right? You get so wrapped up in things and all the expectations, right? But you have to have that, right? And I'm not saying that you got to go and do something horrible, that you got to do something bad. No, but without that, right, all those things are only going to multiply the pressure that you're dealing with, and it's only going to turn out negative for you, right? And this is also something else that I believe also is trying to be kind of taken out of our genome, taken out of our DNA, right? As you mentioned, oh, you argue like a woman, right? Where men have always, again, reverted to this when things got ugly by being raised more so from a female perspective. Those things are kind of, again, being taken out of our DNA, out of our genome, where we're saying, you know what, let's have a conversation about this before things escalate into something physical.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, hold on. Let me see if Philly. Okay, you want to add anything?
We create 1.8 million megabytes a year. Growth is accelerating. I mean, we just as a people, and you know, the burdens of men or whatever, like, I mean, like I said before, you just have to keep examining, like men have to keep examining like their influences. And a lot of the influences is by default, pretty much. Outside control and behavior patterns, pretty much. Some people, they can't help it. I mean, it's just in their blood.
They can't help. They can't help what?
I said some men can't help it. It's just in there. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's natural to them.
Yeah.
I need to get my charger. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. But that's what I was talking about earlier today when I was talking about the imprinting. That's what that is when you say they can't help it. It's in them. It's imprinting. That behavior is imprinting. And I ask our women over and over again, you got to provide grace and mercy. Grace and mercy. Pick the best guy you can pick based on his character, his production. You know what I mean? A little, of course you want somebody that's, physically attractive, but you're not gonna get no down one because that's not the majority of us. We just regular old looking people,
Right.
and
Right.
The woman. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. So the burdens of black men. I'm not going to stay on long because with this, I actually had another section, but I'm actually going to use that for another stream where I talk about conspiracy. It's not conspiracy; it's economics. So, and I'm talking about. So I was going to do that tonight, but we had a guest and I got the timing mixed up with our guest, so she couldn't come on and talk about it because we are going to talk about it from talk about education. But one of the things I'm going to hit home with this stream is try to understand for our ladies what you are asking. You don't know the burdens that your men are carrying. You don't understand what they're carrying. They're carrying a lot, which is fine. No one's asking for you to be like, to feel sorry. No, because no man want nobody to feel sorry for them. We want understanding. Even though I started off by saying the world doesn't owe you or me understanding, I'm not talking about the world. I'm talking about people that share my reflection. 75% of our women are by themselves. 54% of their men are by themselves. There's no reason why we have these two large of groups by themselves.
There is no there. Well, actually, I beg to differ. There is a reason why, right? And that is the oppressive force that we still live within or under, right? Because they are trying to do just that, and they have been extremely successful at destroying the traditional family structure of Black families, right? You listen to Michelle Alexander and the new Jim Crow about how mandatory minimum sentencing has destroyed the core traditional Black families, right? Amongst a lot of other things, right? But that is one thing that we can definitely see in our generation that is happening to help destroy our families, right? And then you add the list that you mentioned, right? This astronomical list. And I'm saying, listen, I have daughters and I want them to have this list, right? I don't want them to come to say, hey, Dad, here's some yeoman nobody who has nothing going on for himself and doesn't want anything, but he wants to be with me. I'm like, listen, right? What was your name? It doesn't matter what your name is. Get the fuck away from me, right? But again, when we talk about the expectations, right? We're looking for someone who has very different qualities, right? When you talk about the traditional male perspective in America, right? As I mentioned before, we're looking at what Theodore Roosevelt created, right? The man is supposed to do this. He's supposed to be a hunter, right? He's supposed to provide security, right? But that's not necessarily what women of this generation need or desire, right? They don't necessarily need a protector or a hunter, right? Women can get their own guns. There are grocery stores. They don't need men for those things, right? However, one thing that in my experience that women always say they need from their mate is understanding, a listening ear. So if that has been brought into our phenotype as males, I'm thankful for that, because maybe there won't be as many domestic violence claims going forward in our future because men are adapting the listening gene and not so much the fighting.
So, I mean, is that why you think that 75% of our women are single? Is because the men are too rough?
Oh, no. I don't think that at all. I don't think it's about being too rough. Well, partially, but the majority of the male or the viable male gene pool for Black America is incarcerated. So the majority of single women don't have access to the men that they are seeking. A lot of these cats may not necessarily go 100% on this list, right? But there are quite a few cats who are incarcerated that would meet 70, 80, 90% of this list that you mentioned earlier, right? Minus a felony or two.
No, I mean, I gotta, you know what? I'm gonna bring that up, because I'm not sure. I hear what you're saying about the incarceration, even though the incarceration rate for Black men is at an all-time low right now for the prison population. Still high comparative to how many versus the amount of Blacks in the country.
Sure.
But here's the thing, though. Oh my God! I wish I knew this off the top of my head, and I don't. But I'll look it up. I'll bring it up on the next stream. But for every felony that I got, they correlated felony to kid production for a felony. So for like every level of felony a guy has, he has 2 kids. That's and they're saying.
Damn it. Which goes back into what you were talking about the economy, right? Because now we're talking about not necessarily building a family, but, derogatorily, if you will, forgive me for saying this, but it's almost like giving birth to chicks, right? It's the constellation prize. If I can't have the relationship and the picket fence and the whole American dream, I'll get the American money. Like I hate to say it that way, right? But I think, in my community, there's lots of people who have lots of children that you're talking about by lots of different people, right? But they get some pretty hefty tax returns every year. They're not hurting for anything, right? So yeah, I may not necessarily be living your interpretation of the American dream, but I'm not hurting for anything.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I do not agree that our women don't have access to viable men, even though we got a good portion of Black men inside of the prison system. It's just that the Black men that are out here, they're not, and maybe we need to talk about the different classifications of men, but because we do Black men are the only men that get lumped in together as if we're one and we're not. There are different kinds of Black men, 100%. But I always focus on the 54% because that group of men are single and childless. That group of men earns enough money to be in middle class. No, I'm not accounting for looks, personalities, character, none of that am I account for. But if the vast majority of our women have babies by dumpster fire, so I mean, I'm not really concerned about what they think about a character because they've already shown what they believe, what they value in character. And a lot of our women don't value character in a man.
So do you believe character trumps love and affection?
Yes.
Right? Because when a person falls in love, character is not necessarily one of the traits that they are putting high on their priority list.
Yeah. Character trumps love. But that's not for our women, because our women run everything through their feelings. When you talk about men and how we, quote unquote, fall in love, men, if you ask the average man, what does he want? Do you want love or do you want respect? We're going to choose respect, because for us, respect is love. Our women, it's all about their feeling. They want to feel this, want to feel this, want to feel that, want to feel this, want to feel that.
I mean, listen, I try to put want to feel things either, right? Because they want to feel
we do
too. You know what I mean?
We
Just
do.
Because we want respect over love doesn't mean that we don't want to feel that respect, right?
Yeah,
because that definitely comes along with it.
I don't care at this stage of my life. I don't care if you love me or not, but you're damn sure gonna respect me.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
But here's the thing about a lot of our, they and it's the conditions of their wiring. However, but going strictly based on a feeling has led our women into a very precarious situation where they're asking other men now to come in and take care of another man's job. And I told you, there's a whole push right now. The last 2 years, there's a push to tell the 54% of black men, and there's some really good men in that 54%, telling them to kick rocks. Tell them ladies, they didn't want you when you were on your grind and come up. Why would you want to go take care of somebody else's baggage? They don't respect you anyway. That's what's being pushed out here.
Is that really what it is, though? Because they've lived their life up to that point, right? And then they actually met the person that they truly wanted to be with, right? Again, we know it's not about the children.
So the brother that, at 33, that's kind of starting to settle in, he, as a cancellation prize, he gets Pookie's baby mama and Pookie's 3 kids as a reward for all his hard work.
If he so chooses love from that person to help him move forward and grow in his life, so be it, right? The calf comes along with the cow, they say, right? If that's what the case is, if that's what you so choose.
And I'm all for that, with the exception, not the exception. I'm all for that, but I want our women to not have this this attitude that guy that's his job to do, that he's responsible for that, and to act like that he's winning such a big prize by doing it. He's not. Now, he may do it because he cares for you. He's found some value in you. He's willing to take all that on, which the majority of, I said it in this stream, the majority of black men are going to, if you want a black woman, you're going to be a stepdaddy. But I think that should come with some, I don't think, and I think the Willie Payne was an extreme version of what happens in the home. I don't think a guy once upon a time, being a stepfather was probably one of the most honorable jobs you can have, even over being a father, because you're coming in doing somebody else's job. It's no longer looked like that way. And women don't treat their men like that, like it's an honorable thing to do. It's like, you're supposed, what? You ain't gonna, what? We a package deal. So, but what do I get for this package deal? So when I open up this package, what do I get for me? Oh, to lay up with you. Great.
You get her.
Oh,
you
wow.
get her, right?
Wow.
But to be with her means you have to do for them.
Which is fine, but what did you give? But see, ask her, what are you giving him for that? And I've gotten people getting angry at me.
Her.
What does that mean?
You get her. You get everything that comes along with her, right? Her emotional support, the backbone that a woman is in your life, right?
How can she emotionally support you?
The cheerleading section, all of those things.
How can she support you when her children come first? You don't come first.
Listen, you're absolutely right? But that's what comes along with it, right? A lot of people talk about, be with a single mom and all these things, but you are absolutely right. You have to realize that you're probably fourth, if best fourth or fifth on the totem pole of priority.
So why does I'm just asking, I'm playing devil's advocate on this conversation. So why in the world would a man that has made the best out of himself come in to be fourth or fifth in line to a group of people that he has to die for, who ain't gonna know his name after 5 years after he's dead?
because that 20% or 30% that you may get from that person is more than 100% from 10 other people, right? Like that's just what it is, right? In conjunction with that, and then of course, if you can fit yourself into that and implement yourself into that system, into that life to where it works for you, absolutely. Now, am I saying that's okay? Absolutely not, right? Because the flip side to that is, even though you are number 5, you better believe if they are not number 1 or 2, there is a problem.
It should be a problem if you're not number 1 or 2.
But again, like you're saying, right, in the way that things are built now, and in the way that family structures are designed now, you can't expect that, right? Even though people expect those things, you can't necessarily go into it expecting, okay, I need to be number 1, I need to be the main priority, because that's not the case. That's not the case. Listen, as a matter of fact, the relationship is not even the main priority.
What do you mean?
Come on, man. As a parent, that is your number 1 goal, to take care of your children, right?
Why?
Your relationship is secondary. Yourself is secondary or even tertiary, right? Yourself may be secondary. Your relationship may be tertiary. And then you got your job. And then you got all the other things that have to happen, bills and food and air that you have to pay for, all these things. So knowing that already, knowing that someone doesn't even put themselves first in their life, how do you approach having a relationship with this person? Again, knowing that you're going to be that far down, it really has to be much more than this traditional family.
And that's where that's where I'm saying about the burdens men carry, because if you a black man, you want a black woman, you're coming in the gate not being the priority, and that's hard. Most men will accept it because we don't require much. Even from an emotional standpoint, we don't require much.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, what level of respect is that man gonna have? Well, first of all, how often does he got to deal with that the actual father? That man got to say so in your house.
You better believe it.
Well, I'm telling you right now, ain't no dude gonna have no say in my house. I don't care. If you don't like that, I'm for the rule and dominate your child. You find a way to get your kid up out of my house. But see, I'm a little different, you know. I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. Whatever I take on under my roof is mine. Period. Full stop.
100%. Right?
It's mine.
Like James said, you paid the cost to be the boss. I believe that was BB actually. You paid the cost to be the boss, and so what you say goes in those situations, right? But as the stream is going, when depending on whose name is on the marquee, right? Depends on who's making the decisions.
Let me tell you something. My lady, her son, we get together, married, and they move in the house. That kid's father, he can make a suggestion. I'll give him that courtesy.
Your suggestions will be handled in the order received. Put them in the box.
But I'll leave a suggestion box. Right next to the mailbox, I'll put Dad's suggestion box. He can drop a note in there, and whenever I feel like getting to it, because everything inside these 4 walls belong to me. They're under my control, my dominion, my protection, my care. Yes, I know that sounds a little crazy to some people, but I don't care how crazy that is. But because I have to take on, if I'm responsible for all of this stuff, including your set of DNA, I'm the captain. You know that movie?
Right. I'm the captain. I will say where this ship goes before anyone does. Right. No, that's exactly right. And I was gonna say what I can't remember the brother's name right now. Anthony Mackie. He said, "Well, you make Daddy a sandwich." Right? Like it's so beautiful, right? He's like, "Oh, you want me to protect you, right? You want me to open your doors, right? You want me to make sure that if some shit jumps off, that I'm the first one that is, out and about, right? Then you make Daddy a sandwich, right? However, then you get the Janet Jackson kind of conversation. Well, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
then it goes right back to insurance. Why do you pay insurance in the event that shit jumps off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but this all leads back to, you mean me telling our women, listen, you listen to a conversation, ladies, about, you know, that all centers around the burdens of Black men.
It does.
And we're willing to do it. I'm not, you know, I'm talking a little trash here and there with my guy here. We're willing to do it, but good God,
but please recognize that. Please recognize that, right? That sometimes the only safety and calm and security that we get is in the arms of a Black woman.
Yeah, we want that. Man, most Black men, man, I don't know too many. Most Black men want a Black woman, and we understand. We got to take somebody's knucklehead up to come along with it. Okay, all right, you know, because white culture, they're a little different. They'll be stepdaddy when the kids are grown. They're not.
Oh yeah, because then they don't have to deal with that, you know, that craziness, that monstrous.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying that, you know, Black people can't find love in different places, right? And I say Black women in particular because they understand where Black men are coming from, right? Because they know what it is to live in this skin, right? And have children that look like us, right? But again, you talk about the burdens of a Black man. Like, listen, do you know what it is to be seen as public enemy number one?
They don't.
Right. That I know I mentioned earlier about the squeeze test and all those things, right? Like again, unless you've heard those things, right? I understand the Black woman is the most hypersexualized being on planet Earth. Don't get me wrong, right? We're not trying to, you know, go back and forth with struggles. I'm not saying that. Right? When we're talking about the burdens of a Black man, these are the things that we have to deal with, right? We fit the description. I've never, ever heard of a woman being that fit the description, but we do, right? We get gunned down because we fit the description. We end up in lineups because we fit the description. These are the types of things that we bring into these relationships and saying, damn, I got profiled again. And all I did was barely stop at a stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to bring this into this relationship and still be calm and still be the protector, still be the father, still be the nurturer, still be all these things, right? And still understand and still be understanding and still listen to your emotions and still be there to listen and hold you and talk to you and all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But realize that these things are happening outside that we have to deal with as well.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'll be right back with you. All right, everybody, listen. I normally write like my ending. You know, I really don't have written out, so I'm just gonna kind of go off the top of my head. Listen, you know, since January, we've been talking a lot about, you know, men-centric stuff over here, the issues with men, questioning their leadership, One of the things that I really want to be crystal clear about, especially with our Black women, understand something. Yeah, we might be out here, you know, in each other's respective corners, warring and, you know, pointing out the flaws and figures and all of each other. And, you know, I'm advocating for our ladies to start to separate the men out from the men that we stereotypically know, the men that our women are having children with versus the men that are actually out here productive. I know a lot of you do not believe that 54% of your men are single and childless. They are. It doesn't, and you know, and I've said it time and time again, I'm probably going to say it until I'm no longer streaming, that the reason why a lot of you do not see 54% of the men that are single is because you don't pay them any attention. You just don't do it. They're on your job. They are on your job. Wherever job you work at, the majority of the men that we're talking about, they're on your job. And our women are quick to talk about, I'm not going to deal with nobody on my job. I ain't going to mess up my job. Let me tell you something what Teresa and Sally Sue do. They damn that job. They find a Brad or something like that, on the job, and they will, and that sucker gonna marry them, and they gonna have a family. They leaving that job. They put the responsibility and the burden of that family and that house on that man's shoulder, and they go, man, skip that job. I don't know how many white people that I've seen meet on the job, and then 6 months later, a year later, when they're about to get married, that woman says deuces to that job. They don't place that value, that job over a life. They don't. Our women they hold on to that job for dear life, because a lot of our women operate and think about, what if something go wrong? Well, damn it, what if? So what? This is life. You're not going to get through life without risks. You're not going to get through life without stuff happening. Y'all should know that better than anybody. 75% of y'all are walking around with babies because shit happened. Because life happened. And it didn't come to a screeching halt, did it? You found a way through. Pick the best black man you can find from a character standpoint. I wish I had a picture of Bill Gates up on the board. He was ugly when he was broke. The man was ugly, but ugly when he was broke. When he was trying to build a computer in his garage, he was butt-ass ugly. But the woman that got with him was better looking than him. And she took his ugly ass home, and he ended up becoming Bill freaking Gates. Burdens of black men. Your 54% of your black men have to live with the fact that we are rejected at an alarming rate, and we shouldn't be. Yes, I know I always go back to the 1940s, 1950s. The 54% of black men that are out here right now, if they were men in the 1940s and 1950s, these men will have women fighting in the front yard for them with 2x4s, tire irons, and whatever else they can get their hands on. For a regular old bro. And most of our black men, a lot of them are professionals. Their salary is low because they're in the service field, meaning a lot of our black men are social workers, caseworkers, firefighters. These guys and they get dragged because they got a $45,000 or $47,000 a year job, year income, but no one's looking at the actual job that they're doing. The handful of black male teachers across the country, they barely make 50 grand, but we got women out here who making 30, talking about, I can't deal with nobody make that little bit of money. But you on food stamps and selling eyelashes every damn day, everywhere, talking about what you got. Average black woman makes about $32,000 a year. And it don't matter how much education you got. The average black woman makes $32,000. That's $16 an hour. So we got a whole bunch of educated women out here ain't even clipping 40. But the average black man is clipping 40. The burdens of black men, what we carry. We carry them. We carry them quietly most of the times. Every now and again, you'll get a wild, crazy brother like me screaming at you about it, reminding you why you are being dismissive, why you want to fight, why you want to argue the point about why you should or should not be with a particular black man. I will say this over and over again. All of these conversations that we are having amongst each other, black men and black women, if what happened in Ukraine happens here in this United States, all of this crap y'all talking will go by the wayside. You're going to find the biggest, strongest buck you can get behind, no matter how ugly he might be, to protect you and your in Day-Day's kids. Because Day-Day going to be trying to find a way and hide behind his mama instead of coming after his children. Burdens of a black man. We're about to start. I did not intend on, in January when I started this stage of the stream, dealing with exclusively men content, because when I first started streaming, all I dealt with the issues were from the woman's standpoint. I never thought that it would take this kind of a turn. But what we're going to start doing now is start talking about and start working on, especially Black brothers. I want us to be the best versions that we can be. Yes, we have burdens to carry, but as any man will tell you, that's your job. And a lot of us at this stage of our life are coming to understand that we haven't done the job because we didn't know what the job was, but we're just now starting to understand what the job is. And we're going to start turning this stream towards kind of two things: how to build us, how to reconstruct yourself as a man, because it's your job to reconstruct yourself. And of course, not all men are the same. We're not talking about cookie cutter prototypes. And we're gonna do this. We're gonna look at what I'm doing, what I have done, and what I'm doing on the next stages of the phase of it. Burdens of a Black man. They're deep, they're long, they're heavy. We're carrying them. The expectation is for us to carry them. I'm not saying that we should not carry them. I'm saying we should carry them. I want our women to understand, when you ask a brother to take me as a package deal, understanding what you're asking of him. Make sure that you don't create any situation that resembles the man that was in my house as a kid. He didn't deserve any of that. If this man's going to take you on as a package deal, I'm sorry, his daddy ain't got a say in nothing, because this man got to do a job that he can't do, that he's not going to have to do.
I'm a king, cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody. I'm busy.
Burdens of a Black man.
Mess with me and you could get forgotten.
Those of you that were watching, thank you. Those that will watch it later, thank you.
I'm a king, cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody. I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten. Just let it sing. I don't play, I just win. Every day I get it in. I'm a king, and I will never knew. Plotting for my fall, you getting hanged for treason. I don't aim to please, do anything I feel. Haters gonna talk, don't listen to the shit. They tryna be like me, they know they can, yo. Can't even get lost. I'm on a pedestal, sitting on my throne. My neck be decked in gold. I don't do no hoes, I've got a queen though. I'm a king, cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten. Just let it sing, I don't play, I just win. Every day I get it in. I'm a king, cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten. Just let it sing, I don't play, I just win. Every day I get it in. I'm a king, I told you guys before. Ready for the war, to get me way much more. Gather all the spoils, add them to my kingdom. Shout out to my fans for pledging your allegiance. You get a reward, the best flow you've ever heard. I don't be mixing with birds, I'm a lion on the surge. Always pushing to the edge, facing arrows, never scared. For my greatness I'm a servant, only under myself. I'm a king, cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need you to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten. Just let it sing, I don't play, I just win. Every day I get it in. I'm a king cause I do what I want and what I need. I don't need to nobody, I'm busy doing my thing. Mess with me and you could get forgotten, just let it sing. I don't play, I just win every day, I get it in.
All right. How was that conversation?
Necessary.
Very necessary.
Yeah,
necessary.
when I was trying to put this together, man, I had to start over like 3 or 4 times because I couldn't. You know how I was saying at the beginning, I couldn't find a way to. What I was thinking, just it wasn't coming out. So what I ended up doing was just like whatever I got, I'm gonna roll with it, and I'll try to force the direction. When I get on there. But it actually went better than I thought it would, and I really hate that our guests, because we actually had a whole nother segment that talked about that I wanted us to go over, but I'll try to reschedule that later or add it to another stream because it was another long one. But I think it worked out well.
I mean, I think it was great because we got a chance to not only talk about the list that you mentioned, but we got a chance to talk about Mr. Willie Payne, and not necessarily him specifically, but what his character kind of represents in the households that we know of. You know what I mean? So many of us have been in a situation where it's like, no, you only have this title, right? You're only the Duchess of York. You're not a queen. You're not a princess. You know what I mean? You're just the Duke of nothingness. You know what I mean? So fall in line behind the women. So
yeah, definitely. And what brought this subject on for me was I was actually thinking about the stream and how hard it is to build it. And I want to build something, want to build a community where we can actually start looking at maybe putting some of us together, and it's a hard game to try to navigate, to get people's attention, have subjects that people care about, get people to log on and participate. So that's kind of where my end game is. I hopefully one day, I'm in a group, a networking group that of content creators that they're all building, and everybody's for the most part where I'm at or just slightly above whatever. But the one consistent thing that I've heard is it just takes time, and I've been at it since May or something like that I've been at this, probably since May. But most of them don't really start hitting a lot of traction until a year or a year and a half out on it. They got to got to be consistent. And one thing I was told the other day is I gotta stream more. only be able to do it once a week. But my schedule. But I'll figure it out. That's my burden to bear. I believe in what I'm doing. I want to put us together because our generation of people, we can't be out. We can't go out like this with all of us dying by ourselves. I work in the hospital. I'm seeing the older generation going out who started this crap of being separate, going out by themselves, man. This is I don't want that for us Gen X, Gen Y, with the millennial. I don't want that for us. A lot of us are getting a little bit older, and I've heard people say, oh, it's too late for us. No, it ain't. Even if we can't produce families together, we can still get together,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's more important in our community, if it's the core family or the core community, right? I think they're both struggling, right? Mm-hmm. But I think we, as a people, are comfortable gathering around something, right? Whether it be a symbol or an ideal, right? Because inside our doors, things can get very nasty. You know what I'm saying? Because we are fighting against, like you're talking about, the burdens of the Black man, the burdens of the Black family, right? But when we can focus on something else, right, those burdens kind of go out the window for a little while, right? Because we're focused on Barack Obama, and yes, we can. Or we're focused on the next political campaign, right? So we don't have to necessarily focus on on what's going on behind our doors, but that is the real fight, right? And I believe that is part of the main fight. I said something. I wrote something down, right? As far as the Borden, right? We are the part of the master race's master plan, but we are the target, and that is our burden.
Yep.
Right. We are that target. So when we go into that relationship, knowing that, right? Knowing that, listen, we can go and we can follow Dr. King, we can follow Brother Malcolm and James Baldwin and W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. We can follow those cats. But when you come inside, you're supposed to be doing this because society said you're supposed to act like this. And without having these conversations, these are the things that are going to get passed down to our generations, which are false. And we need to make sure that we are controlling the narrative for our generations going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's 9 o'clock, man. I'm gonna get off here, try to find me something to eat. But I thought this was an interesting conversation. I really liked it, and so I'll probably chop it up and put some clips up for me too, because I think we hit on some good stuff there. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, man.